okay? Has a line been crossed by Ukraine? There's reportedly an understanding, right? The U.S. will help Ukraine push Russia out of its sovereign territory, but not help Ukraine make a move into Russia for obvious reasons. That deal may have been broken. How so? Well, you see the drone attack? This was the old one on the Kremlin roof. Ukraine said, wasn't me. Zelensky said, wasn't us. Well, who was it? Nobody else took credit. Now there was another one that we should have video for. And now we have these anti-Russian fighters blowing past Russian checkpoints. Now, how do we know they're really Russians? How do we know that even if they are Russians, that they are not being funded or motivated or worked with Ukraine? The timing comes just as the United States is training up Ukrainian pilots on some of our F-16 jets. Are they going to use American F-16s to bomb inside Russia? All of these events come with Ukraine saying, wasn't me. Okay, take it on face value, but it seems less likely now, doesn't it? Especially with a Ukraine official saying, just as all this is happening, that Russia will field a counteroffensive. Why are you saying it just as these other things happen that you say it wasn't you? All right, there's cause for concern. So let's get some clarity from former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, and retired Colonel who was the Marines Chief of Staff in Europe, Brendan Kearney. It's good to have you both. Thank you very much, sir. Colonel, let me start with you. First, do you agree with my assessment of suspicion about who's behind these recent steps into Russian territory? And what is your assessment of what that means for America's understanding with Ukraine, Colonel?
I'm with you mostly, but not all the way, Chris. And here's why. It clearly is to the Ukrainians' advantage to go ahead and have that question mark out there as to whether or not they're supporting potentially Russian saboteurs, a Russian sort of equivalent of the Free French movement from World War II. Because what that does is it dramatically increases the dilemma that Russia has with providing security within Russia. And I mean, that's common sense. Are the Ukrainians actually involved? Question mark. Up until the fall of the Soviet Union, there really wasn't a border. So the Ukrainians are as comfortable in Russia as the Russians are as comfortable being in Ukraine. That's a fact. So for Ukrainians to cross the border and pose as Russians, possibly. For Russians who oppose Vladimir Putin to take action, that also is possible. And I would just very briefly harken back to that explosion on the Siberian airfield about a month ago, where persons unknown, took out that very unique, very expensive Russian aircraft.
Right.
So there's a lot of questions out there, Chris, right now.
I accept your assessment, Colonel. You know why? Because you know better than I do. That's why. That's why I wanted you on the show. Ambassador, now on the political side of this, the diplomatic side, am I right to put it out there as a proposition that there's an understanding that the United States will help Ukraine push Russia out of its borders, but it was supposed to be, hey, we're not going to give you any weapons, and we don't want to use any weapons that we do give you to go inside Russia. Was that supposed to be the state of play, and is there legitimate concern about it being violated?
That was the state of play, is the state of play, Chris, and there's not a concern that it was violated. These people that went across the border, these soldiers went across the border, they're Russians. That's very clear, they're Russians. They've been training inside Ukraine. There's probably some coordination with Ukrainian forces, but these are Russians that are going in. That's been very clear. And the Ukrainians have been very careful to abide by the guidelines, the agreement that they made that they will not use any U.S. or other NATO weapons inside Russia. They have hit inside Russia before, as we know, not with NATO weapons, not with our weapons, not with U.S. weapons. They've used their own to go deep into Russia and attack airfields. So I think that understanding is still intact.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And Don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.